So today I want to talk to you about an issue that seems to be upsetting a lot of my clients, and a lot of my clients are confused about it, and it's revolving around birthright citizenship and the recent executive order that was signed by President Trump. And I'd like to give you all some clarification on exactly what happened and the implications of the order and what its future is. So if you're interested in this, listen up. All right. So yesterday I received a text message from a client of mine who's Brazilian, and she forwarded to me an article from a Brazilian newspaper, which I found completely deceiving and incorrect. And I wanted to clarify things for people who follow my content and for my clients, my future clients, to know exactly what's happened here, okay? Because the media is being disingenuous in many different outlets. So this thing is written in Portuguese. So I understand Portuguese a bit since I speak Spanish and a little bit of Italian. So it says there is an order to take away citizenship of American children of immigrants, and that order is unconstitutional. Okay. So first of all, my client got this and freaked out because she's applying for residency and her daughter is a derivative beneficiary of hers. So her daughter is going to get the residency through her. So my client's here legally pending adjustment of status to green card holder through marriage. And her daughter's here legally as well, pending adjustment of status as well. But when she read this, she thought, oh my God, my daughter is going to be deported. That was the first thing that came to her mind. And I had to go over with her and clarify with her what the executive order actually said and the effect of it. So this executive order was signed on January 20th, 2025. It's called Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship. And it references the 14th Amendment. So the 14th Amendment is the amendment that is quote unquote the Birthright Citizenship Amendment. And it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. That provision rightly repudiated the Supreme Court of the United States' shameful decision in Dred Scott v. Sanford, which misinterpreted the Constitution as permanently excluding people of the African descent from eligibility for United States citizenship solely based on their race. So they go on here to tell you the intent behind the wording of this statute. Now, all of these years, we have been living under this, accepting it to be what's quote unquote considered birthright citizenship. And for many, many years, people, in fact, travel from other countries on a tourist visa simply to have a baby here so that that baby's born in an American hospital and becomes a US citizen. I actually became aware of it numerous years ago when I had a neighbor and her cousin came and her cousin was pregnant and she was staying for a few months to have the baby. And I was like, why is she having the baby here? I don't understand. And then they said, so the baby can become a citizen. So and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even know we had that. So this has shed light on something that probably a lot of Americans we don't even think about, and we don't even maybe didn't even know. And it shed light on the wording of this amendment because there's a specific exclusionary clause in there to people born within the US, and the specific wording is subject to the jurisdiction thereof, but I'm going to get to that later. So what the exact executive order says is that what it says is It is the policy of the United States that no department or agency of the United States government shall issue documents recognizing United States citizenship or accept documents issued by state, local, or other governments or authorities purporting to recognize United States citizenship to persons, number one, when that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the person's father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth, or when that person's mother's presence in the United States was lawful but temporary, and the person's father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. So what does that mean in layman's terms? It means that birthright citizenship is still a thing. It's not completely abolished. Where it ends is when people come into the country illegally, remain here without status, and have a baby. Those people's baby cannot become an automatic US citizen. In addition to that, this executive order is ending when people come on like a tourist visa, just to have a baby, like my neighbors. He's ending that. Now, why now? Okay, well, different from when this amendment was enacted many, many, many years ago, we recently had a mass migration of people crossing the border illegally. And as a result of that mass migration, we have hundreds of thousands of people here without status who may be having babies. And all those babies are now US citizens. And this may not have, actually, this was not occurring back when the amendment was actually enacted. So things have changed. And in order to stop this, whoever drafted this executive order really looked into an amendment that we've all been following without actually paying attention to the specific wording. So I'll read it again. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. So there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words here that I think are crucial. It says, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. It doesn't simply say all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States and the states wherein they reside. If it said that, there's no question whoever can come here and be born here. But the framers of the amendment actually put in these words, and it said, and subject to jurisdiction thereof. So the question is, what does that mean? What does being subject to the jurisdiction mean? What does jurisdiction mean? The reason why I'm asking what this means is because if you are a textualist, if you are a strict constructionist, then you, as a judge who's going to ultimately interpret this, have to determine what is the definition of these words and how is it applied. So does subject to jurisdiction mean that you go to a country and you decide, I'm going to disregard my other citizenship and only be a citizen here, and I'm not loyal to any other country? Does it mean I come here, and when I'm here, I have to follow all the laws or I'll be arrested? What does it mean? Because if you're not subject to jurisdiction, does that mean, well, I go to another country and I can commit any crime because I'm not subject to jurisdiction? So what does it mean? And that's what needs to be litigated, because the people who wrote this executive order, who are backing it, are going to argue for it. And they're going to argue that people who are here illegally are not subject to the jurisdiction, and therefore their children are not citizens. People who are against this are going to argue that no matter what, when you come into the United States, you're subject to jurisdiction. So those 6 words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, are going to be highly litigated. And right now, this order has been blocked from being enacted. And it's being litigated in federal court, and there's been several states that have issued lawsuits, and ultimately it's going to go to the US Supreme Court. And the US Supreme Court justices are going to determine whether this is constitutional or not, and whether it can actually be enacted into our law and followed by our states. So going back to now, like actually now, and how are my clients affected by this? How are you affected by this? Well, if you're here legally, like my client who was here on a tourist visa and filed for an adjustment of status to a green card and has her daughter who's 16 years old as her derivative, this has no effect on your life. Nothing. Okay? Because first of all, your child is already been born, your child's 16. And you are not here illegally. You are here legally pending status. Okay? So this has nothing to do with you. The people this does affect are people who had recently come in through the mass migrations and had a baby. And that baby is the one that's going to be affected. Is that baby a citizen or is that baby not a citizen? And then the question is, if this is enacted, how logistically is that going to play out? So let's say the Supreme Court determines that this is constitutional and it can move forward. At that point, there's going to be logistical issues with implementing it. And I think what's going to happen is that they're not going to deport children who were already born, because even this executive order says that it would take place 30 days from the time it was signed. So it's going to be enacted for future births. Okay. So it's a way to prevent so many people from coming here just to have a baby or crossing and having a baby. You know, that's to me, it's a preventative measure. Because it would just be impossible to go back and to find these babies born to people who have no status. So that's my interpretation of it. We're gonna definitely be hearing a lot more about this because it's going to be so highly litigated, and we're probably going to be able to hear the transcript of our Supreme Court justices going over it, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of back and forth between them. So it's really interesting. Anyway, this was kind of a heady talk, but hopefully I was able to explain it as best as I could so that you understand it and know whether you have anything to worry about or not. Hope you liked it. And if you like this stuff, this information, please follow me, subscribe to my channel, and I'd love for you to like this video. That'd be great. All right, thanks.